Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Jupiter sextile or trine one's natal Pluto. Now, when you have this transit, it could manifest in optimism, enthusiasm, exuberance, truth, veracity, joviality, luck. This could be in harmony with transformation, power, and control. And I'm going to elaborate and expound on that. Well, the thing about it is, when you have this transit, you could be more upbeat, enthusiastic, and exuberant about making a transformation. If you have it Pluto in the first house, it could be one of the physical body. Um, it's more about having more positivity in general in issues of power and control. If there's been a power struggle with somebody, or you feel that you don't have enough power, whether it's in your life in general or over your finances or whatever it might be, this is the time where you're likely to feel more optimistic about that, and it can be more fortuitous for those matters in general. If it's about reclamation of power and control in your life in general, this could be a very positive transit to in order to get that back. And it's really a time to when you have this transit, it's also understanding the truth about if you're going to make a major transformation in your life, whether it would be on a spiritual level or it could be home remodeling, renovation, it could be in the physical body. If you have this in the fourth house, again, it could be something with home remodeling and renovation. It could be, the seventh house, it could be relationships in general. So this is something, when you have this transit as well, another thing that's very positive about this is that you could, it's very positive if you're trying to deal with a crisis, at this time, and whether it's, of a financial nature, or whatever it might be. Um, it could be something at home in your family life. It's a time when you have this transit. It's also a good time for in-laws to maybe be helpful and beneficial in those matters. If you're dealing with some upheavals or crisis in your life in general, this is the time when those people can be more apt to be beneficial in terms of helping you deal with it. And it's also a time to, when you have this transit, it's really about, again, the fact that Jupiter is connected with the truth, understanding the truth about a crisis, whether you have something to do with it or not, whether it's, what is the reason behind it, and if there's any issues with control in your life, this is the time to understand the truth. And Jupiter, again, is about truth and veracity. So it's a very good opportune time to understand what is truthful about those matters at this point in time. And if something as well, I mean, when you have this transit, I mean, keep in mind Pluto anatomically is connected with the colon, the prostate, the bladder, and the reproductive system. So it's a time where this can manifest in a number of ways. If you have any of those issues I described that are anatomically connected with Pluto, this is a time where it's very positive just to understanding the truth in them. If you're waiting on some prognosis on any of those issues that I stated that are anatomically connected with Pluto, it's a time to understand what they're about, how severe it might be, or how, is it really, is it that significant? Is it just a minor issue? Or if you're having surgery, say for example, on those anything that I just stated connected with Pluto anatomically, this is the time where the surgery may be more auspicious than it ordinarily would. And it's a time where, as well, if you're trying to recuperate from surgery or from some trauma that I described that's associated with those body parts, this is a time where the recuperation may be going a little bit better. Maybe it's going faster than you anticipated, as some examples. Now, another thing too is that Pluto is connected with crime and corruption. So if you're dealing with something in, say, in your neighborhood, it could just simply be, malicious mischief and, people, doing, doing malicious pranks, or their action, that's what the actions are associated with. It could be kids doing something causing problems. you know um, it can be a time where it may be more positive in terms of getting the results you want. And I'm going to elaborate and expound on that. I mean, putting an end to it if there's any crime again in your neighborhood, or if you have a family member that's been you know victimized by some crime. It's could be a better chance to catch the perpetrator or perpetrators involved. It may be a time where there'd be less fear regarding this. When you have this transit, I mean, Jupiter is also connected with the law, so it's more of an, I would say it's auspicious for the law actually doing something about this. More, there's a greater propensity for that, for the law to be doing something about it more so than usual, and in taking it seriously. And it could be a situation if you've reported something in the past and it wasn't taken seriously, and this is the time where you're more apt to get results out of that, out of reporting the crime, than you ordinarily would. And it's also a time too where it can be positive for dealing with some kind, if there's any kind of bullying or intimidation or coercion. um, this is a better chance to be able to do something about it at this time. It's not necessarily being done to you. It could be a friend that you may know. Maybe there's a child in school that's had to cope with that. And it's a time where it's more, I would say, more positive in dealing with it. If the law can get involved again, Jupiter is associated with the law, then the law has a better, it's more of an opportunity where the law would actually be willing to intervene and actually do something about the situation. And it's also a time where it could be very positive for shared resources situations, for moral, emotional, and monetary support. It's a time where there may be more, people might be willing to help out and express more benevolence, toward you, in giving you support at this time more so than usual. It's about the expression of goodwill, and not doing, and I mean, anybody can give support at any time and not always do it, in a positive way. It's like, this is the time, if you get any kind of support, it's done with more goodwill. It's done, it would be, or I should say, more likely to be done with goodwill, with more of with more positivity, not with an attitude, done in a way where the people are really expressing, they're showing a benign expression while doing that, and doing so in a very kind and benevolent manner, doing it with more, maybe, whether it could be compassion even. um, it's really uh, it's really done. This is a time when you have this transit, um, where you could also, it could be very positive in matters with insurance and taxes. And maybe something happens with taxes, where if you file a tax return, because Jupiter is about prosperity, maybe you get more money back than you originally anticipated. If an insurance matter has been taking some time, or there's been some kind of delay where the situation has been protracted or prolonged for some degree, this could be more auspicious for dealing, for actually getting at least the information regarding it at this time. And it's also a time as well, you're going back to Pluto. um, Pluto is connected with trauma. So if you're dealing with whether it's physical or emotional trauma at this time, this could be a time where you're more likely to deal with it better, because it's more about being optimistic. Whether, I mean, if it's a physical related trauma, it could be in terms of the healing or recuperation process. You may feel more positive with it. It could simply be that you may be healing quicker than you anticipated. If it's more on like an emotional or psychological level, it can be a time where you may be more positive in terms of dealing dealing with it at this time. If you're a religious person, it could be people out of religious congregation may be beneficial to you in dealing with something traumatic at this time. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back, but anyway. And also, too, Pluto is connected with surgery, so if you've had any surgical procedure, it's a time when, again, going back to Jupiter being associated with optimism, positivity, it's a time where you likely are at least more positive regarding whether it's the recovery or what have you connected with the surgery. It would be more auspicious, I would say, for the surgery in general to go through the way it needs to go through without, with little delays, little complications. Um, if you have, say, your natal Pluto, say it's in Libra, it could be some surgery connected with the kidneys or the lower back or something with the endocrine system. If a surgery is, can be done in connection with that. Anyway, now another way this transit may manifest, it could be a time where you're very enthusiastic, which is Jupiter, about making a transformation, which is Pluto. Now let's say, for example, if the natal Pluto is in Libra in the 6th house, it could be transforming, which is Pluto, into having a more balanced, which is Libra, a diet, which is the 6th house. Another thing too, it could be very positive in getting to the truth, which is Jupiter. It could be about an intimate relationship, which is Pluto. Now let's say, for example, if the natal Pluto is in Scorpio in the 4th house, it could be someone that's compulsive, which is Scorpio, a hoarder of possessions. That may be more, so I would say that's actually more 2nd house. If it's in the Pluto and Scorpio in the 2nd house, that might be more of 2nd house energy. But anyway, it's also a time where it would be, easily, it's more of an opportunity to easily express your humor, which is Jupiter, when dealing with a crisis, which is Pluto. If the transit Jupiter is in Aries, say, it could be humor that's very outspoken. It could be jokes connected maybe with the military or weapons. In some cases, it may be a time as well where it can be about more prosperity, which is Jupiter, and what you have a passion and desire for, which is Pluto. Now, let's say, for example, if the natal Pluto is in Virgo in the 5th house, it could be where one may be analyzing, which is Virgo. It could be sports. That's the 5th house. It can be a time where it may be more propitious for sports, which is Jupiter, that you truly desire, which is Pluto. Jupiter, transit Jupiter is in Gemini, say it could be sports that require those quick reactions, like table tennis or badminton, as some examples. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.